Hi, I'm Matthias. In this lesson, we're going to take a look at simple two-note chords called power chords. These type of chords consist of only a root and a fifth and are a staple of rock and heavy metal. We'll go over these in both their root position and their inversion, and then we'll play a simple riff using both shapes so that you can see the benefit of combining the two. The first group are root position, non-movable power chords. As these incorporate open strings, this area of the fretboard can also be referred to as open position or first position. Starting on the 6th and 5th string, this gives us what is called an E5. I have the root of E, and then the 5th of the chord is B, which is at the 2nd fret of the 5th string. Now, what determines that to be the 5th is if I take my musical alphabet, I start with E, I count that as 1, and I just count up until I get to 5, B is going to be my 5th. My next chord, that's going to be an A5. I have A, which is the 5th string open, and then the 5th is E, which is on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. Moving across, I'm then going to have a D5. That's going to be 4th string open, which is D, and then my index finger, I'm fretting right here at the 2nd fret on the 3rd string, and that gives me the 5th right there. So I've got a D5. Okay, then when I get to the 3rd string, I'm going to have to change my fingering just a little bit because so far as I've gone across, the strings are tuned in 4ths. But once I get to the 3rd and the 2nd string, well, they're tuned in 3rds. So instead of fretting at the 2nd fret, I'm now going to fret at the 3rd fret. So this is going to give me a G5. That's going to be the 3rd string open for G, and then the 5th of that is D, which is at the 3rd fret on the 2nd string. Okay, now that we're back to tuning in 4ths for these top 2 strings, I'm going to play a B5 chord. The B5 is going to be the open 2nd string, and then I'm going to have an F sharp, which is a 5th above B. The next group are open position inverted power chords, meaning that the 5th of the chord is in the bass while the root is on top. Playing the 6th and the 5th string open gives us an inverted A power chord, or an inverted A5. And what the inversion means is that the root of the chord, which is A, is not in the bass. We're actually putting a different note in the bass. And since it's just a 2-note chord, well, that puts the 5th, which is the note E, in the bass. Now, I want to make sure that you don't get confused that when I'm saying that the root of the chord is on top, our top strings are our highest sounding strings. It's not the strings that are closest to the ceiling. Those are your bottom strings. So with these inverted power chords, the root is going to be on top. It's going to be the highest sounding note, and the 5th will be in the bass. So your A5, strings 6 and 5 open. The next power chord will be D5. This is going to be the 5th and 4th strings played open. We have A, which is the 5th, D, which is the root. Then we're going to have a G5 power chord. This is going to be the 4th string open, which will be the 5th, that's the note D, followed by the 3rd string open, which is G, which will be the root. Okay, next I'm going to have a C5 power chord. That's going to be G, which is the 3rd string open, which is the 5th, and then I'm going to fret the C, the 1st fret on the 2nd string. And then lastly, I'm going to have an E5 power chord, which is going to be on the top two strings, the fifth, which is B, second string open, and the root, which is E, first string open. Now we'll take a look at movable power chords. This first movable power chord, we can simply refer to it as form 1. What I'm doing is I'm putting the root with my index finger, that's going to be on the 6th string. Now I'm demonstrating this on the 2nd fret. I'm not going to refer to the actual notes because the notes will vary depending on where you're playing this on the guitar. The main thing is that you get the spatial relationship between either the index and 3rd finger or index and 4th finger depending on where we're playing these. So the form 1, the first one that we're doing here, is going to be on strings 6 and 5, and that's 2nd fret and 4th fret. So I have my root followed by my 5th. We can then just shift the exact same shape over one string. So I'm playing this same figure again on strings 5 and 4. We can call this form 2. That gives me my root, and then my 3rd finger 2 frets higher covers the 5th. Form 3, I'll play on strings 4 and 3. Still the exact same shape. I've just moved that across. I started at the 6th string, then the 5th string, and then the 4th string, just sliding it over. So I have my root, and then my 5th. Now, I'm going to have a little change when I go to my 4th form. I'm going to have my index finger, I'm going to keep that at the 2nd fret, but then my 4th finger is going to come up to the 5th fret right here. That's because of the tuning difference. We were tuned in 4ths until we get to the 3rd and 2nd string. There's a separation of a 3rd. So I'm going to have my 5th 1 fret higher. So I have my root, 2nd fret, and then my 5th at the 5th fret right here. And again, just keep in mind as I'm calling out frets, let's say you're starting on a different fret, well, everything's going to change. But while I'm playing the roots on the 2nd fret right here, we're either going to be at the 4th fret or the 5th fret, depending on what form we're playing. Okay, and then form 5, the last form that we're going to have, we go back to 1 and 3. So I've got index finger, which is playing my root, 3rd finger, playing the 5th. Now let's look at the inversions. The first form of your inverted power chords is going to be on strings 6 and 5. With my index finger, I'm playing this at the 2nd fret, and just as we did previously, I'm not going to call out notes because the notes change depending on where you're playing this, but just to demonstrate this, it's right here at the 2nd fret. So I have my root, which is on the 5th string. The 5th is on the 6th string. The next form, form 2, I'm simply just going to slide my index finger over. This will be across strings 5 and 4. I have my 5th in the bass. I have my root right above it. The next one, just slide that over again. This will be my form 3. I'm going to have my 5th in the bass on the 4th string and my 4th on the 3rd string. My next form, the 4th one, because of the tuning difference, tuning in 3rds across strings 3 and 2, I'm going to bring my 2nd finger up, and so that's going to be at the 3rd fret right here. So depending on where you're at on the fretboard, you're going to be offset by 1 fret with the index and second finger on these 2 strings. So my 5th is in the bass, and then my root sits right on top of it. And then lastly for form 1, we're back to the 1-finger bar right here. I have my 5th in the bass, and then my root sits right on top of it. Now let's check out a very simple riff. While I'm not going to use every shape for this, we'll see how some of these work in actual practice. With this particular riff, I'm using all root position power chords, starting on the 6th string and then 5th string. And what I'm doing for the first couple of chords is I'm simply just kind of rolling that 3rd finger over to the 4th string, and then my index finger is going across to the 5th string to get that root right there. That's much easier than playing this, then picking up and then setting back down. That takes too much time and it's too easy to make a mistake. So you just want to kind of just slide the index finger over and just roll that 3rd finger. Easiest way to do that. Then sliding up to the 6th and the 8th fret. Then I got to go back here all the way down to the 1st fret and then back here. So I'm covering a lot of ground playing just this root position power chord. So that can be a little bit tricky, but at the same time, that's also really good for you to work on your shifting. Now let's take a look at the inverted forms. Here I'm playing the exact same thing that I played a second ago, but I'm inverting these power chords and using a different voicing. And in turn, it makes this particular riff much, much easier because I'm able to play my G5 power chord in an inversion, which is my form 3 inversion right there, and that's simply just the open D and open G. And then I can just use my 3rd finger to bar here at the 5th fret, go back to the open, and then use my index finger to bar at the 3rd fret. Back to open. Then index finger just moves over to the 5th and 4th string, and then plays it open again. So that just shows that when you use different chord voicings, you can take a riff and sometimes make it much, much easier by simply just changing some voicings around. This covers your basic 2-note power chords. There are, of course, other ways to play these using different voicings across multiple strings, but this is a great place to get started. If you haven't already, be sure to check out my other videos as well as my metal guitar method. I'm Matthias, now go forth and rock.